Hi, good evening, everybody. Adequate notice of this meeting, as required by the Open Public Meetings Act, was provided through the posting, mailing, and filing of the annual notice of regularly scheduled meetings of the Town Council on December 17, 2024. The notice was on that date posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, provided to the Westfield Leader and the Star Ledger, and filed with the clerk of the town of Westfield. Ms. Lawshie, may I have a roll call?
Mayor Brindle?
Here.
Councilmembers Habgood?
Here.
Dardia?
Here.
Domagala?
Here.
Kiefer?
Here.
Saunders?
Here.
Armento?
Here.
Contract? Here. Keeley?
Here.
Please rise for the invocation given by Councilman Domagala and remain standing for the salute to the flag.
May we acknowledge the delicate balance between personal freedom and the greater good, and to remember to safeguard these liberties, ensuring they remain a source of empowerment and inspiration for all. Guided by wisdom, let us together make choices that reflect our values and contribute to the well-being of our community.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Mayor, I just want to make an announcement for the public in the audience and online tonight. We have three public hearings scheduled for tonight on three ordinances on second reading. The first one is for an ordinance to address solar panels, and in the previous meeting at 7 o'clock, the council discussed it, and we expect the council will make a motion to table that, to send it back to committee for further review. We will have the public hearing, though, so if the public wants to make comments tonight on that, we welcome them to come up and do that, and then we'll close the hearing, and there'll be action on that to table that later in the meeting. So, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. So, why don't we, Jim, do you have the proclamation? Yep. Girl Scouts, you want to come up? All right. Councilman Hapgood forgot her sash tonight. Last time we had so come on over here, girls. Thank you so much for being here on this school night. We are here to proclaim Girl Scout Week. Oh, come on up, sweetie. Just in time. All right. So whereas March 12, 2025 marks the 113th anniversary of Girl Scouts of the United States of America, the largest and most impactful leadership program for girls in the world. And whereas the Girl Scout movement began on March 12, 1912, when Juliet Daisy Gordon Lowe, a native of Savannah, Georgia, organized a group of 18 girls and provided them with the opportunity to develop physically, intellectually, socially, and spiritually. And whereas for over a century, Girl Scouts of the United States has advanced its mission to build girls of courage, confidence, and character and make the world a better place. And whereas today, more than 50 million women, trailblazers, visionaries, and leaders, are Girl Scout alums who have made the world a better place. And whereas since its beginnings, Girl Scouts has emphasized public service and civic engagement and has fostered a sense of community in girls. And whereas during a time when girls are experiencing increased levels of anxiety, stress, loneliness, and depression, Girl Scouts continue to provide community, consistency, and connection for girls across the world, and is a safe haven in all the uncertainty. And whereas girls say that Girl Scouts supports their mental health and is an accepting, secure space where they feel free to be themselves and where leaders and other girls are sources of support during difficult times. And whereas Girl Scouting is a powerful force for social connection and creates a positive and uplifting national global network among girls. And whereas Girl Scouts plays an indispensable role in engaging girls in after-school and out-of-school programming and experiences that expand their world and allow them to tap into their inner community builder, innovator, change maker, and leader. Whereas Girl Scouts offer girls 21st century programming in science, technology, engineering, and math, the outdoors, entrepreneurship, and beyond, helping girls develop invaluable life skills. And whereas Gold Award Girl Scouts take on projects that have a measurable and sustainable impact on the community by assessing a need, designing a solution, completing a project, and inspiring others to sustain it. And whereas, as a member organization of the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts is part of an international sisterhood of 10 million girls and young women in 152 countries, and is committed to offering girls more opportunities to engage with communities worldwide, make meaningful global connections, and explore global citizenship. And whereas Girl Scouts Heart of New Jersey serves over 13,000 girls across Essex, Hudson, Hunterdon, Somerset, Union, Southern Warren, and parts of Middlesex counties. Now therefore, I, Shelley Brindle, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, do hereby applaud the Girl Scout movement for providing girls with a secure, inclusive, all-girls space where they can hone their skills and develop leadership abilities, and I declare the week of March 9th, 2025 to be Girl Scout Week. All right, girls. Jim, did you have any other comments? Okay. Just a few comments before we get into our agenda this evening. I first want to make a huge congratulations to the Westfield High School boys hockey team, who the rescue squad and the first responders escorted back into town yesterday following their first ever state championship. The team ended their fantastic season with a 5-game winning streak and sealed their championship at the Prudential Center yesterday at 1 o'clock. And I do have to say, I was particularly happy and proud of this for those of us that sat on this dais in 2019 over the Gumpert ice rink. I remember the boys hockey when it was the boys hockey club, not team. And I remember when there was very little girls hockey. And when you talk to any of those parents today, they will tell you that Westfield Rink at Gumpert has been an instrumental part of why they've been able to get to the elite status they are today, and in particular, the expansion of the girls program. So oftentimes these things take a long time to see the impact, but I think it was particularly thrilling to watch the boys win that championship yesterday. So it was really great. And while we're talking about schools, yesterday Jim Gilday and I met with the Board of Education members, well, I should say the school superintendent Ray Gonzalez, business administrator Patty Ramos, and Board of Ed President Rob Minacchio. And we do this on a regular basis, always to discuss key issues and opportunities to optimize the use of our residents' tax dollars. As I remind everybody, we might go to different places, but at the end of the day, we are all very cognizant that when you pay the school and the board and the county, it's coming out of the same pocket of taxes, of residents' taxes. So, but among the topics was our intention to move forward with a shared service agreement for the maintenance of school-owned fields. I know I referenced it early in the year, but you're going to expect to hear more about that in the coming weeks with some definitive resolution plan to actually make this a reality, which is great. And a lot of it because of the investment that we've been making in our public works in terms of field maintenance and so forth. So it's really great to see that coming to fruition. We also discussed our mutual desire to eventually use future pilot revenues to support capital improvements for the schools. And we decided once the outcome of the April 15th bond referendum is known and the revised One Westfield Place financial agreements are adopted, we will be in a more informed position to continue those discussions and finalize the best path forward that benefits our schools and taxpayers. So we anticipate doing that in the coming months. So luckily we're very much on the same page in that regard. And speaking of the school district, I promised them that we will continue to remind everybody that on April 15th, Westfield residents will vote on an additional spending proposal for the 25-26 school district operating budget, and very importantly, for a bond referendum that includes funding for school improvements and full-day kindergarten. Unfortunately, the vote falls during spring break, which couldn't be the worst situation for this. It was a date that's set by the state. So residents, if you're going away for spring break, please sign up to get a mail-in ballot, review all the details, and you can please look at all the ways to find to get your vote in before you go out of town. There's lots of information on the westfieldnjk.org/vote website. Just a reminder about Conservation Center hours, sunny weather and warm temps. Make it time, feel it working in the yard. Permits are now on sale on the town website for the 2025 organic waste disposal at the Conservation Center. The price remains $60, unchanged from last year. And on March 20th, the center will begin seasonal hours of Thursday, Friday from 9 to 2:30 and Saturday, Sunday from 9 to 3. Regarding affordable housing, we just had a meeting about it, and our work on the 4th round of affordable housing continues, following the unanimous adoption by this council in January to present our modified prospective need obligation numbers for 364 units. We have a committee here as a reminder, comprised of council members Hapgood, Healy, Domagala, and Saunders, and have been doing great work in collaboration with our town and affordable housing professionals. So we are working towards the dispute resolution program goes through. I think we will expect to get findings by an agreement on our numbers by April 1st. And so while we do continue through the remaining phases of this 4th round, it's reassuring, and we talked about this earlier, that we are in the process of developing these constitutional and informal zoning code and protects our single-family zones while meeting the requirements of the new law. And we're very, very grateful that, as we said, if we just continue to keep following the rules, we will be protected from builders' remedy lawsuits and continue to remain in control of our zoning. Anyway, so more information coming up as the year moves forward. Just very great news on the playground front, switching gears. Since our last capital meeting, Memorial Park Playground is now officially open. It was delayed due to weather and a variety of other kind of unexpected work. I think when you go there, you'll agree it was well worth the wait, and it's another accessible playground that we've added to the community. Not only, again, I think we see the playgrounds that are happening in the schools that are becoming inclusive, and it's thrilling to know that that we're also in the town doing our part as well. And it's also important that Memorial Playground, it was previously installed as the town's first accessible playground by Eagle Scout Gregory Ryan Jr., and that will always be memorialized. It was funded by the '24 capital budget and offset grants from Union County, a variety of Union County and a federal community development block grant. There are some, just if you go over there, it's not 100% complete. There's some final items that will be completed in the short term, such as like work around the perimeter and some more aesthetic type things, restroom repairs, etc. But please go out and enjoy it on these beautiful spring days. We're excited to have it in working order. Regarding our agenda tonight, we have we have ordinance on second reading from the Code Review and Town Property Committee, an ordinance to change the front yard setback regulation for the GBT zone to allow for development to be located closer to the right-of-way, which was approved by the Planning Board, an ordinance to update the existing green buildings checklist, and lastly, as Jim mentioned, the council decided tonight's conference session to refer the solar panel ordinance back to committee, the one that pertains to removing existing restrictions on street-facing mounted solar panels, for further review. So more on that in a future meeting. So with that, let's get to work tonight. Ms. Lashy, are there any advertised hearings?
Yes, Mayor, we have 3 advertised hearings tonight, starting with General Ordinance 2025-03, an ordinance amending the land use ordinance of the town of Westfield relating to the installation of solar energy systems. Anyone wishing to be heard on General Ordinance 2025-03, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Evan Topolo, 355 Arenda Circle. If we're talking about solar, I am a...
This isn't the solar.
Yeah, this is solar. Yeah.
Okay, I'm a builder and home remodeler in town, and this is coming from mostly personally, that I don't really like the idea of solar panels on front-facing roofs. I think that solar panels are great in certain applications, but to have them on a front-facing roof, I think kind of degrades the look and feel of homes in our town. And my opinion, I have an opinion on some of the other things that are coming up, so that's it on solar. Thank you very much. And I mean, again, I like solar, I just don't think it's applicable for every home and every front-facing roof in town.
Thank you.
further comments, Mary, you may close the hearing.
This hearing is closed. And
Next.
can I just mention, I do want to mention, when front-facing solar panels are currently allowed today. So they're already allowed. This ordinance was simply providing, actually loosening some of the compliance restrictions around it, and that's what's being tabled. So just want to make, just so you know. Okay, I'm sorry, Maureen.
Next is General Ordinance 2025-04, an ordinance to amend the land use ordinance of the town of Westfield in regard to the front yard setback requirement in the GB2 General Business District. Anyone wishing to be heard on General Ordinance 2025-04, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, Mayor, you may close the hearing.
This hearing is closed.
Last is General Ordinance 2025-05, an ordinance to amend the land use ordinance of the town of Westfield in regard to green development checklist. Anyone wishing to be heard on General Ordinance 2025-05, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Evan Topolo again, 355 Arenda Circle. On the green development checklist, as a home remodeler in town, this is something that I think is a good idea, but it requires some work on the part of the contractors, and which in turn would add an additional expense to the homeowner, because it seems like kind of a long list of things that we have to do, and it's just another thing that as a builder we have to fill out the forms and answer a lot of questions that may or may not be something that they want to pay for, because at the end of the day, what we have to do for them as clients and our people who live in town here, it already costs a lot of money to do work to your home. This is another one of those things that could add to the cost. So again, I like the idea of green development, but I would encourage you to consult with people who do work in town for our residents. Because, and we've had this discussion before, it would be great to have a builder perspective on some of the things that the town does in regards to renovations, remodeling, new construction, that kind of thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to comment on that at all?
Mr. Topolo, I think it's always a balancing act. Just for you to know that the checklist is meant to be an awareness driving vehicle. So builders, contractors, residents are thinking about green building and green development opportunities in the midst of putting their plans together. That's the goal of it. It's really meant to be fairly straightforward to fill out. I don't think it's a huge expense personally, we're trying to help move our town to a more sustainable future. And we believe that this is a great way to do that, to raise awareness, to make sure that everybody's considering green building practices. So that's just a little bit of clarification as to the intention of it. So we already have one. This one is a little bit longer, right, to bring into, take into consideration some additional things. But this idea already exists in town. It was put in place several years ago.
Mayor, may I ask one quick clarifying question? Is it an optional checklist or is it a mandatory checklist?
It's mandatory to fill out, but nothing's required. It's really meant to, hey, have you considered this? Have you considered that? So we want people to fill it out.
Yeah,
right?
it's not mandatory that they do all of the things.
No, nothing's mandatory to do.
Seeing no further comments, Mayor, you may close the hearing.
This hearing is closed. Councilman Contract, please move for the adoption of this ordinance.
Instead of moving for the adoption of General Ordinance number 2025-03, I'm going to make a motion to table this and send it back to the Code Committee.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll, and we're voting to table it.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Dardia,
Yes.
Domagala,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Armento,
Yes.
Contract,
Yes.
Healy. Yes. Mayor Whitmore.
Yes, this motion is carried.
Next, I'd like to move for the adoption of General Ordinance number 2025-04, an ordinance to amend the land use ordinance of the town of Westfield in regard to the front yard setback requirement in the GB2 General Business District.
May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Saunders. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Hapgood,
Yes.
Dardia,
Yes.
Domagala?
Yes.
Kiefer?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Armento?
Yes.
Conrad?
Yes.
Healy?
Yes.
Mayor Rendell?
Yes, this motion is carried.
Last, I'd like to move for the adoption of General Ordinance Number 2025-05, an ordinance to amend the land use ordinance of the town of Westfield in regard to a green development checklist.
May I have a second?
Second.
Invite Councilman Domagala. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmembers Havergood?
Yes.
Dardia?
Yes.
Domagala?
Yes.
Kiefer?
Yes.
Saunders?
Yes.
Armento?
Yes.
Conrad?
Yes.
Healy?
Yes.
Mayor Rendell?
Yes, this motion is carried. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the Town Council Conference and regular meetings of February 25th, 2025? So moved by Councilman Contract, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Saunders. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? This motion is carried. Now it's time for open discussion by citizens. Anyone may come up to the microphone and speak to the council on any subject on which we have jurisdiction. Please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Donna Perone, and my address is 8 US Highway 22 East, Westfield, New Jersey, 07090. For some of you, that might be a foreign address because we are the very end of Westfield, hitting the highway. My neighbor and I are both residents of Westfield, but we also have a neighbor to the other side of us who's in Mountainside. Our homes were involved in a very serious incident on Sunday. I would like to thank the police officers of Westfield and the fire department of Westfield, as well as all of other fire companies and police officers that showed up to the scene on Sunday. I don't know if any of you heard about it, but the highway was shut down due to this incident. A tree that is on state property at the end of my driveway fell onto the highway and onto a car. Thank goodness the people in the car only suffered minor injuries. They could have been seriously killed. Then it ignited a fire because all the power lines were pulled down. And it ignited a fire on both sides of my driveway that it was extending to my neighbor's property. We had to wait until the power was shut off as that fire increased, and luckily they were able to put the fire out. However, this tree was a V-shaped tree, and one part of it came down. The other part is still there, and it is leaning, and it's leaning more towards falling again. The people who have been working on those power lines and on the cable lines have all looked at it and said, that tree's gonna fall in about 2 or 3 days for sure. It's swaying more each day. It is on state property. We do not know who to get in touch with in such an emergent situation. Yes, we are trying to find out who to call, but if it falls, there could be another tragedy. It could be me with my car, because it's right on my driveway, that could crush me as I'm going down, or my husband who walks to the bus walking down the street, or it could be one of my neighbors, or it could be several cars on the highway. We don't know what to do. And I'm basically here on their behalf, asking you for help. Could one of you contact the state so that they can know how serious the situation is to get that tree cut down? I do not want to have Westfield in the news again because this tree falls, and we were lucky. The wind was not with us the other day. They came in the back of my house, because my house sits 475 feet back. They went in the back of our house, because we have all the forest behind us too, to make sure that no flame had gotten to the back of the house, so that all of those woods would go up. And there are multiple Westfield homes behind us. So we don't know what to do. We're desperate. We need that tree taken down as soon as possible. And it's a situation that's why I'm here. If one of you could call the state and have somebody come down and cut that tree down so everybody in the town could be safe, we would really appreciate it.
Well, I'm always happy when I have a response. So I heard from one of your neighbors this morning.
Yes, probably my neighbor to the left.
Yeah, well, right. And because of our frustration historically with the lack of response from the Department of Transportation, I called the governor's office and they called me back, and we have a contact now at the DOT. I spoke to her. They were sending people out I didn't tell her about the tree specifically, but I told her about, I guess your neighbor had mentioned a bunch of brush and like
Yes,
a lot of things
it's
that
a
need to
lot of
be
brush.
cleared. So I gave her the location where it was, and then I have her cell phone. I gave it to Jim. Did you detect, Jim called her? So you should see some response to that.
We just want that tree gone.
Pronto. I agree. I was just so happy to finally have a name and a phone number of someone who actually called me back.
Thank you, we
So
appreciate it.
I would just make sure that you touch base with Jim, because he's the primary contact for them now, but we're on it, and we completely understand the
So
seriousness
we
of
should
it.
see that tree gone soon.
Yeah, and I
hopefully.
sent them the pictures that the fire chief had sent me, just to
Yes.
show they understood the seriousness of it, and just really grateful that there weren't any more serious injuries
We are
from
too.
that, really.
We are
for
too.
sure.
And
And we
just-
understand that you guys tend to be the forgotten homes, as far, Jim and I talk about it, we hear about the bus, I called them about the bus stop too, the ice and so
Yes.
forth.
Yeah.
I called the governor's office about that.
Thank you.
So-
And we did want to let you know, when it occurred, my daughter's boyfriend called the fire, 911, and they were told, we don't know this address.
It's crazy.
So he had to give the address for across the street in Mountainside to get the
Them
fire
to the
trucks
same-
there. So that's another issue
Yeah.
that 911 doesn't have our addresses in
Yeah.
the system.
Well, before you leave, give your contact information to Jim.
Okay.
And he can let you know when he speaks to the DOT woman
Okay.
directly, and make sure that we get the best location for where to send her.
Thank you
Okay?
so much.
Thank you.
Just to follow up, on that, I did reach out to a woman today. I left her the actual address and mile marker on 22, as well as driveway number 8, which is, yes, yep, okay. And it was, the tree is one part of it, but we need better vegetation management along that whole corridor. So that's the other part of it. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Mayor, may I say
Oh,
something?
sure. Yeah, of course.
I just want to give a special thank you to the Recreation Department. I got to attend the Me and My Gal event. I have to say, it was absolutely spectacular. I think they did a phenomenal job. Met so many nice fathers and their daughters. We had a great time, and I'm sorry to promote this because I know it was filled up in just a few minutes, but if you haven't done it before, it is great. You'll have a wonderful time.
Very nice.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Did you have, come on up. I was like, well, I saw him when coming up before. I figured,
Promise this is the last time.
this is a very
tonight.
efficient meeting for you.
Yes, it is, covering a lot of bases. So, I feel like one of the more important reasons I came here tonight was to talk a little bit about something that you may not have complete control over, but the building department has recently asked for more information when we submit permits for soils, grading plans, stuff like that. So any proposed disturbance greater than 200 square feet requires this soil disturbance plan, which is relatively new, and it caught several people off guard, including the architects who didn't really know about it. We take the plans from the architects, we take whatever survey work is given to us, and either from the homeowner or from the architect, and we submit it to the building department for a permit. When it gets, so recently had stuff that was kicked back because it was slightly over 200 square feet of disturbance, which is practically nothing. So it used to be a much larger area, and what happens is we now have to go to the Somerset Union Soil Conservation District with a soils grading plan that comes from an engineer. And that process is is much longer. So if you're expecting to submit a permit, now you get kicked back and you have to go through this process of submission. Not only does it take the better part of a month or two, it's several $1,000s. And to me, like, it doesn't cost me, like, I'm passing that along to my clients, but every time we have to do this, it costs a lot of money. So not only do they have to do this up front with an engineer and the Soil Conservation District, once the work is done, then we have to bring the surveyor out again and do more work. Again, it's like thousands for our residents. And I don't know if this is something that necessarily can be reversed, but it took a lot of people off guard, and we submitted several permits that all had the same issue recently, and the architects were unaware. Clients were unhappy because they realized that their start date had to be pushed back. So I'm not asking that this should be reversed. I think it's a little egregious. I think 200 square feet is really nothing, and most towns don't require these type of grading plans unless you're disturbing, let's say, 1,000 feet or more. For new construction, just to give you an idea, that's typically like 5,000. So 200 square feet is practically nothing. Over 5,000 square feet of disturbance, you have to do a more comprehensive soils plan. So, and that's what we expect when we do much larger jobs. On these really small things, it's just, I feel like it's more of a burden on the homeowner because of the additional costs and time involved. So, again, I don't know if this is something that was really enacted by the council, but if you're not aware of it, that's what's going on. So,
Got it. Thank you.
For what it's worth.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Jim, do you want to address that?
Sure. So the 200 square foot disturbance ordinance was put into place, I think it was late 2023, and has been rolled out since 2024 in the building department, and really intent of it, and we're discussing it in the Code Review and Town Property Committee now about other potential zoning permit discussions we've had. But the intent was to do just what Mr. Topola talked about, to get more information on the grading, stormwater management, and those things because of issues we've had where when homes are going in, whether it be a new home or not even a new home, it may be a patio, it may be a driveway, it could be lots of things. If there's a disturbance over a certain amount of square feet, in this case 200 square feet was the ordinance that was enacted in late 2023, and takes some time for it to roll out. We want to make sure that these plans that we receive, the information we receive, we then can address drainage issues or topographical issues to neighbors, which ends up happening after the work is done. Then the neighbor calls us, could be months or days or weeks after the thing is done, and they are now negatively affected in some way. So our thought was to try to get that information up front so we could address it, and most times it's a pretty simple fix or no need to fix at all. But that's the intent of that, and it does require more work. It definitely no doubt more submission, but it's been in place by ordinance by this council since I think it was October or November of 2023.
And if I remember right, this was in response to residents who are complaining about a new home or work that had been happening adjacent to them. They had no flooding on their property previously, and then the place gets built and.
It was mostly, and it wasn't all about new homes. It was mostly about, and that's why the committee is still discussing a potential zoning permit, because it really wasn't new homes particularly, because as Mr. Topola
right.
said, a lot of those plans are expected and the disturbance is much greater, right? In this case, it was more about the things that we don't have any eye to now. So someone puts in, it's really a result of COVID. When COVID happened, everyone was home. We had a lot of new pools going in, new backyard patios, new outdoor grills, things that were a lot more impervious coverage, and not always required 1,000 square foot of movement. It could have been 200 square feet or a little less than that. So we needed to have some sort of controls to figure out, okay, we don't want negative effects happening to neighbors or just to the area itself where we have low-lying properties, you have easements of properties where there's drainage easements already there, or poor drainage in the area. So that was the intent. It wasn't really to affect new homes, it's much more of the smaller backyard or driveway issues, and we've had some people affected by that. That's what sparked that at the time.
Got it.
Jim, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I thought the process was internal, like to Westfield. Mr. Topola said he had to go to Union County, Somerset.
So he's referencing the soil conservation's requirement. So that's commonplace, and he knows, especially for new homes, where when a lot of earth is disturbed, you have to put up silt fences, for example, and those type of things. But there is a requirement to do that in certain circumstances. That's to protect the neighbors from having dirt, obviously, come on neighbor's property. But that is a separate issue that's controlled by that organization, not the town. So when you have to go there, they can come out and inspect or be called to come out and inspect to make sure that the property owner or the developer on that property is handling things properly. And they administer and enforce that, we don't.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, I close this portion of the meeting and move to bills and claims. Councilman Hapgood.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move bills and claims in the amount of $499,056.66.
May I have a second? Second by Councilman Contract. Any discussion? All in favor? Yes. Opposed? This motion is carried. Next on the agenda is reports of standing committees, beginning with Finance Policy Committee. Councilman Hapgood.
Thank you again, Mayor. I have 8 resolutions, 7 of which I'd like to move as a package. The first, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant to replenish bulk mail permit. 2, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant for dog licenses for February 2025. 3rd, a resolution authorizing the CFO to refund Recreation Department fees. 4th, a resolution authorizing the CFO to refund Police Department fees. 5, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw a warrant for the Board of Adjustment escrow monies. 6, a resolution authorizing the CFO to draw warrants for overpaid taxes for 2025. And 7, a resolution authorizing affordability assistance grant pursuant to the Town of Westfield's Affordability Assistance Program for a tenant of an affordable housing unit.
May I have a second? Second. Second by Councilman Dardia. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion is carried.
I would also like to move a resolution authorizing the CFO to make a budget transfer.
May I have a second? Second. Second by Councilman Contract. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Council members Hapgood,
Yes.
Dardia,
Yes.
Domagala,
Yes.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Saunders,
Yes.
Armento,
Yes.
Contract. Yes. Keeley. Yes. Mayor Brindle.
Yes, this motion is carried. Next up is code review.
Mayor,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, if I can just add before we move on to
Sure.
the next, just to remind everyone that next meeting, we're going to be presenting the budget. So I hope that everyone will come out in person and hear all about it.
That would
Thank
be
you.
great. So Councilman Contract, you're up.
Linda, I'm sorry, just jump in one second. So in addition to the budget, it's important. So next meeting is the budget introduction and the capital budget introduction.
Correct, yeah.
That's important mostly because the majority of the capital is the road program for 2025. So that's a big thing to do. The quicker we get started on that, the quicker we can get the road process started. So 2 big introductions on the 25th, and then the capital budget will be expected to be public hearing and adoption on April 8th, and then the budget itself, public hearing and adoption on April 22nd. So, thanks.
Thank you, Jim.
Come to all the meetings.
That's right. I'd like to move a resolution amending leases with the Westfield Senior Housing Urban Renewal Partnership LP and Westfield Senior Citizens Housing Corporation.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Saunders. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion is carried. Next is Public Works Committee. Councilman Healy.
Yes, I move a resolution awarding a contract for various landscape materials for the Department of Public Works.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Armento. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion is carried. And may I have a motion to adjourn? So moved by Councilman Domagala. Second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Daria. All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? This motion is carried. This meeting is adjourned. Good night, everybody.